And welcome back to the Flow Sports Fix on this Wednesday. We've got the Sports Express with Cord coming up for you. We'll also be chatting with the Flowman and the Statman coming up, having a look at something for you as well. But right now it's time for the Flowman to have a look at some local football, starting with a derby and some ladders.
Let's firstly start in Great Flinders football. And at the weekend it was the derby between the two Cummins sides. It was Ramblers taking on Cummins Kapini. Those Cougars are looking pretty good this year. 12-11-83, beating Ramblers 8-1-49. I think the stat from this game that's worth mentioning is that Wagner booted 10 goals out of 12. Of course, he was on the Port Power list, and he's still showing he's got plenty of talent for country football to kick 10 out of 12 and be the best player. Buchanan a couple for the Ramblers in what would have been a tough outing to lose to their arch enemy. And what about this one? It was Elliston Districts getting up and winning 10-15-75 at home at Elliston over Tumby Bay, 6-13-49, reversing the corresponding match result from earlier in the season. Well played to the Elliston District side, and they had King O'Loughlin with 4, and Williams, Rosalia and Wadsworth were the better players for them. United Yalana 22-18, way too good for Eyre United, 2 goals, 7 in the final match. Over now to a look at Western Eyre football, and the Blues got over Canibba 13-6, 84 to 10-8, 68. A good performance by the Sejuna Smoky Bay Blues, because they had Clayton and Paws with 3 apiece, and Coleman and Fraser were the good players. Bailey with 3 and Stengel with 3 for Canibba. And W. Edwards, T. Newchurch and S. Miller played well for them. As we move along to other matches, it was the West Coast Hawks, 12 goals, 24 behinds, 96 to Thevenard 5-2-32. And, if ever it was a wayward day, maybe down by the seaside at Thevenard, they struggled with the windy conditions, but it was not a good day for kicking goals for the West Coast Hawks. They did win it. Cody Colbung, Dylan Kelch and Cam Montgomery, the better players in their result, whilst Grills and Inglis a couple of goals each, and Denton for Thevenard was pretty reasonable. And Western United kicked 11-17-83 when they travelled down to Wirrala to win against them, the Bombers 7-10-52. And looking at some of the better players in that game, Marr, Shippard and Polkinghorne for Western United. Polkinghorne kicked 3 goals, while Gum, Chester and El Ross for Wirrala, and Mudge and Gum, M. Gum booted 2 goals apiece. Let's now go to the results in Eastern Eyre football, and the 2 games saw Kimber District 17-8-110 overcome Cow 6-9-45. The other match, it was Eastern Rangers 13-15-93 beating Central Eyre United 8-10-58. A good performance there by the team from the Eastern Rangers. They're showing why they're the second best and maybe the best in the comp, and Kimber Districts will have something to say about that. Jenner with 3 for Eastern Rangers, and Binky and Storick, their better players, while it was Clint Winter having a really good season up forward for the Central Eyre United, 4 from him. And this young Waters, he is a star. Both the 2 Waterses were stars, and they were the best 2 players for the Central Eyre United club. Well, it was a very interesting weekend for football up into the northern areas, and this was a big win for Crystal Brook, because it keeps their final 4 chances alive by beating the arch rivals Bullaroo Melrose for that position, 8-11-59 to 8-8-56. So well done to the Brook. And then in other matches, Southern Flinders 17-19 beat the lowly Jamestown Peterborough 3 goals 4, and Orroroo 15-10 overcome Broughton Mundura 9 goals 6 in the top of the table clash, and Orroroo looking like the best side in this comp. And a quick look at Far North, and how do you pick the Far North Football League? Each week the results are a reversal of what you'd expect, but that's usually what happens in a mining town where you've got shift workers playing. Hornridge 17-13 beating Roxby Districts 6 goals 8, and in the other match Olympic Dam 10-13 beating the top side East Roxby 6 goals 8. So some interesting scorelines there over the 2 games last weekend. The table there has East on top now at 3-2, Olympic Dam 3-2, and then Hornridge and Roxby are both 2-3.
Always good to have a look at the ladders to see where teams are. We continue on the Flow Sports Fix on this Wednesday evening with the Flowman And a rather concerning result, Flowman.
And to Golden Rivers, we've had an emerging result here that has to cast some concern across country football, not potentially because of the one-sidedness of the result, and we get that week in, week out, but it was first versus second in Golden Rivers, and Nullawil kicked 32 goals 21 to 113 to Moolameen 1 goal 3-9. Now, if that doesn't send shudders through the rest of the Golden Rivers sides, I don't know what will. Now, albeit that Moolameen's road trip from New South Wales down into Victoria on the weekend was never going to be an easy one. One has to suggest that it wasn't what they were expecting when they started out as second place on the ladder. And Nullawil kicking goals from every angle. 7 in the first to 0. It was another 8 in the second to 0. In the third quarter, they added 9 to 0. And in the last quarter, they tapered off. Unfortunately, they were only able to kick 8 goals, 8 to 1 goal from Moolameen. You can see the one-sidedness of this must be of some concern. Oberdorfer kicked 10. He is the leading goal kicker. And Putt and Casey joined him in the better players. Miller tried for the Swans, who I guess are back to some of the bad old days of getting pasted up by clubs like Nullawil in past years. In other matches, a little better to report that Quamba took 13-14-92, beat Hay 8-4-52, continuing their resurgence up into the top 4. And a good performance by Quamby. They had some good players too on the day, including Wild, who kicked 2, and Baker and Cameron, who were also very good players. Let's take a look now at other matches. It was Wandella 12-8-80 over an improving Ultima 9-8-62. Good to see Ultima, who've been the bottom of the table this year, but getting some system and getting a reasonable scoreline. Millwood and Devereux both booted 2 for Ultima, and Delmenico, Bull and Purtle were their better players on the day. Wandella had Wilson, the difference between the two sides. He kicked 6 goals, and Kirby was their better player. And finally, in a close one in Golden Rivers, it went to right down to the wire, but Murrabit 13-8-86 to Maccorner 12-12-84 in another close one. It leaves the ladder something like this, and as reported earlier, Nullawil on top, haven't lost a game out of 6 starts, 403%. That's right, 403. Moolameen second place, 5-1, are now down to 89.95%. And then after that, it's Wandella 4-2, Quambatook up into the 4, 3-3, Hay are 2-4, Murrabit are 2-4, Maccorner 2-4, and Ultima yet to open their account 0-6. Let's go to New South Wales. From Victoria and New South Wales in Golden Rivers, we head to the Riverina contests of the weekend. And Coolum Rovers have beaten the Griffith Swans 15-12, 102 to 14-7, 91. Means that the Rovers are certainly looking bound for finals football the way they're playing at the moment. Turvey Park beat Leeton Whitten, who are having a terrible season after playing off in last year's bridge season Riverina Grand Final. They are getting beaten by most and struggling down the lower part of the table are Leeton Whitten. But Turvey Park 15-12 to 5-7. It was a good win for the top of the table Goannas. Mangalapa Cookadinia United Eastlake 23-9, 147 to Narandra Eagles 10-7-67. For the Goannas, they'd be pretty pleased with the form of Castles. Another 11 goals. He is dominating this league this year. Dernan with 3 for Narandra, Hutchison, Irons and A. Dernan, the better players for the Eagles. And is it a shifting of the guard? Well, one would suspect that Lions have overcome Tigers in the jungle. It was at the Ganmain Sports Ground jungle where this occurred. 17-9, 111 to GGGM, beating the Wagga Tigers 7-7-49. Last year's premiers struggling away because the ladder reads top of the table. It is those Goannas, and they are 5-0. And on top, it's the GGM Lions. It's 5-1. Coolum on 5-1. And then after that, fourth place on the ladder could be anybody's this year. here. It's Turvey Park with 2 and 3, Wagga Tigers 2 and 3, Collingully 2 and 3. Then the Swans are 1 and 4, the Eagles 1 and 4, Leighton Whitten are 1 and 5, and on the bottom of the table. Finally, in Farah football on the weekend, Northern Jets thrashing Temora in a local derby up in the north of the league, 30-11 to 8-4. In other matches, East Wagga Coringal 17-18 beating Barellan 10-8. It was a good win for Mara, 17-12 to Colliamberley, 3 goals, 6. While finally, North Wagga 15-20 beat the Charles Sturt University, 7 goals, 6. And that table now shows something like this. On top of the table is the Mara Bombers. They are followed by the TRYC, the Rock Yerrin Creek at 5 and 1, and then North Wagga Saints 5 and 2, East Wagga 4 and 2, Northern Jets 3 and 3. They're joined by Charles Sturt 3 and 3. After that, Colliamberley on 1 and 5, Barellan 1 and 5, Temora 0 and 6.
That result will change. Temora will win a game. They can do that before the end of the season. Got confidence in you guys. I know you can do it. We're going to be chatting with the Flowman a bit later on the show. We've got Courtney coming up as well. And something that I found on MLB memes, I'll share with you. I'll share that with you not too far away. But we've got the stat man for you. He's coming up next.